Wendy Williams. She got fired from Hot 97 because she had a picture of Puffy. So if you don't mind, give me the story from your point of view and what was in the picture.
We were in Cancun. For whatever reason, dude was playing with Puff. He went behind him and grabbed his trunks and pulled them down. Some girls that was taking pictures. They took that picture and emailed it back to Wendy Williams. Wendy Williams said she had him in a compromising position and like it was gay, something like that. She was gonna put it out. Wendy had shown people that email. Puff told Hot 97 if they didn't get rid of her before he got back in New York, that they was not gonna get any music from any of his friends, any of the record labels executives that was cool with him. Everybody was gonna boycott their station. We was out in LA for about 3 days before we landed back in New York. Wendy Williams was in the radio station in Philly. She was fired.
Cassie's relationship, way before Cassie even left him.
He ran out of the club so fast and got into the waiting SUV that it wasn't until he got into the truck that he realized that he left Jennifer behind, along with his bodyguard, Anthony Wolf. He just ran. Forget it. That's a true sign of the itch bag, by the way. Leaving his woman.
I thought it was an uncle.
Well, eventually, Jennifer and Wolf made their way to the SUV without Puffy.
Right.
They ran 11 lights to elude the cops. Supposedly it was Puffy, although people are saying they saw a female hand tossing the window. And then when the cops stopped them, they found a second, of course, in the car.
Right.
All 4 of the occupants, the driver, the bodyguard, Puffy, and Jennifer, were handcuffed and taken down to the precinct. And eventually, Puffy and his bodyguard, Wolf, were overheard talking about their plot to bribe the driver to take the rap for the... And Puffy was overheard saying, and I quote, because the prosecutor said this, "I can't go to jail, I'm Puff Daddy."
He was arrested with a deadly weapon. And
this is not something that is like a conspiracy theory. This actually happens. But if they're able to separate Nicki and Kenny, that makes Nicki vulnerable because your husband is your power of attorney. Your husband is your signator on all of your accounts in the event anything goes wrong. Michael wasn't married. Britney Spears was married, but of course they control all of that. And so the mere fact that all these narratives are out about Kenny stealing this to buy chains and buy that, that's not what it is. It's like, they got doctors that are giving out these diagnoses saying that she's schizophrenic and bipolar and all of this stuff. And then Kenny's now here. She trusts Kenny. Of course, they've known each other since they were kids. Their families know each other. And so Kenny is just in the way. And so what do? You create narrative.
Wendy Williams, the outspoken talk show host who once ruled daytime TV, has been living a nightmare that no one could have imagined. For years, she was trapped under a court-appointed guardianship, labeled with mental illnesses she didn't even have. And now, shocking new tests reveal the truth. Wendy was intentionally misdiagnosed. Imagine being forced out of your own home, cut off from your family, your career canceled, and your finances controlled, all while trying to prove you're not crazy. That's exactly what Wendy went through. For months, she's been screaming to anyone who would listen that something was wrong, but no one believed her. Even high-profile stars like Nicki Minaj tried to warn the public about what was happening, hinting that Wendy's situation wasn't an isolated incident. And now, the big reveal. Independent neurological tests confirm Wendy does not have frontal temporal dementia, the very illness used to justify years of control over her life. But how did a woman at the peak of her career end up trapped in a system that could label her incapable, while allegedly lining the pockets of powerful institutions? What role did industry giants, banks, and legal teams play in this shocking saga? And what does this mean for other celebrities who could be next in line? The story is messy, twisted, and full of shocking revelations. And it's just getting started. After years of success on television and in radio, Wendy Williams suddenly found herself stripped of her independence. It all began when Wells Fargo stepped in, claiming she was incapable of managing her finances and at risk of exploitation. That led to a court appointing a guardian, supposedly to protect her, but the consequences were far from protective. Almost overnight, Wendy was cut off from her family. Visits became restricted, phone calls monitored, and any contact with the outside world tightly controlled. Her long-running talk show was canceled, leaving millions of fans shocked and confused. Even more alarming, she was repeatedly placed in mental health facilities and subjected to treatments for conditions she may never have had. Her once vibrant life had been reduced to a rigid schedule dictated by strangers, with her finances and decisions no longer her own. Every step she took was monitored, and her voice, once loud, unfiltered, and fearless, was silenced. It's the kind of power move most people can barely imagine. Being told you can't take care of yourself while others control your every move. But this wasn't just a tragic turn of events. It raises a question that sends chills through anyone who knows the entertainment industry. Was this truly about Wendy's well-being, or was there something more calculated behind the scenes? Because according to Wendy, this misdiagnosis wasn't an accident. It was deliberate. And the story only gets darker from here. Wendy Williams insists that what happened to her wasn't a mistake. It was deliberate. According to her, the same team appointed by the court to oversee her life may have been the ones orchestrating her misdiagnosis. For years, she was labeled with multiple mental illnesses she never had, including frontal-temporal dementia, a condition that supposedly justified the strict guardianship over her life and money. She repeatedly tried to speak up, telling anyone who would listen that she wasn't crazy. Yet her protests were ignored, dismissed, or buried under layers of legal and medical authority. It wasn't until TMZ reported that a top neurologist in New York performed new tests that the shocking truth came to light. Wendy doesn't have the illness that controlled her life for years. And the drama doesn't stop there. Nicki Minaj recently spoke out, warning that similar tactics might be used against her. She made it clear that this wasn't just about Wendy. It was a pattern in the industry, a method allegedly used to manipulate and control celebrities. The warning was serious, but, like Wendy's cries before her, many people dismissed it. The idea that a system designed to protect someone could instead be used to control them is chilling. Wendy endured canceled shows, forced medical treatments, and isolation from her family, all while the truth about her health remained buried. And yet, despite everything stacked against her, she kept fighting, determined to reclaim her voice, her freedom, and her life. Wendy's fight wasn't just her own. Her family felt the brunt of the guardianship as well. Her son, Kevin Jr., didn't stay silent. He publicly called out the mismanagement, pointing to the obvious contradictions in her care. Doctors had noted that her dementia was likely alcohol-induced, yet her guardians allowed her to continue drinking. Meanwhile, her family was cut off entirely, left in the dark about where she was or what treatment she was receiving. For Kevin Jr., this wasn't just frustrating, it was terrifying. He watched as his mother, a woman full of life and resilience, was systematically isolated from the people who loved her most. Every call unanswered, every visit blocked, every decision made without her input. It painted a picture of a system more concerned with control than care. Wendy herself has admitted the pain of being cut off from her loved ones. She tried countless times to regain some autonomy, undergoing independent evaluations to prove she didn't have the illnesses she was being labeled with. Each time, her efforts were dismissed. Yet, through it all, she demonstrated remarkable strength. Experts point out that people with frontal-temporal dementia typically decline rapidly, but Wendy has shown resilience and clarity, proving that the diagnosis that kept her trapped may have been completely false. This isn't just a story of misdiagnosis, it's a story of a family's fight to see the truth recognized. And as shocking as it is, the legal battle is far from over. Wendy's next steps could finally set the stage for her freedom. Despite years of being dismissed, Wendy didn't give up. She underwent multiple independent neurological evaluations, each one confirming what she had been saying all along. She didn't have the illnesses that her guardians claimed. Every test reinforced the fact that she was being misdiagnosed. Yet for years, the court-appointed team ignored the evidence. Experts say that people with frontal-temporal dementia only decline over time. Wendy, however, had shown remarkable neurological resilience since getting clean and sober 3 years ago. Her clarity, memory, and overall cognitive function contradicted the narrative that had justified stripping her of her independence. It became clear that her supposed decline wasn't natural. It was imposed. Now, her legal team is moving fast. According to TMZ, they plan to file documents with the court to terminate the guardianship. If the judge refuses, Powerhouse attorney Joe Tacopina is prepared to demand a jury trial, putting the decision in the hands of ordinary citizens who will see the facts and decide for themselves. This could finally end years of manipulation, isolation, and control, giving Wendy back what was stolen from her voice, her freedom, and her life. But the story doesn't stop with the courts. To understand the full scope of what Wendy endured, we need to look back at the powerful figures who allegedly contributed to her downfall and the shocking industry secrets that were exposed along the way. Wendy Williams' troubles weren't just about misdiagnosis or legal guardianship. They were entangled with a long history in the music and entertainment industry, particularly involving Sean "Diddy" Combs. Over the years, Wendy reported several incidents that put her at odds with him, starting with controversial photos allegedly showing Diddy in a compromising situation during a vacation in Mexico. Wendy claimed she had the images and questioned their authenticity, which created waves in the media and in industry circles. Her fearless reporting didn't sit well with Diddy or his associates. Shortly afterward, Wendy was fired from Hot 97, a move that many believe was directly linked to the photos and her insistence on exposing what she saw. Friends and insiders say that Diddy even threatened Wendy's teenage son, turning the situation from professional sabotage into something deeply personal. Beyond the personal attacks, Wendy's role as a truth teller put her in direct conflict with some of the most powerful people in entertainment. She questioned relationships, exposed hidden drama, and called out inconsistencies that many wanted to keep buried. Her willingness to speak openly made her a target, and the consequences were severe: career setbacks, personal threats, and eventually, a guardianship that would control her every move. Wendy Williams' case might seem shocking on its own, but according to Nicki Minaj, the situation is part of a larger pattern in the entertainment industry. Nicki claims that not only was Wendy targeted, but powerful entities like Jay-Z and Roc Nation were allegedly involved in orchestrating the guardianship. She warns that similar tactics could be used to manipulate other celebrities, and her own husband, Kenneth Petty, has been a critical barrier protecting her from a similar fate. The logic is chilling. Unmarried or separated celebrities are more vulnerable because their assets and decisions can be controlled by court-appointed guardians. Wendy, who was divorced when her guardianship began, became an easier target. Married celebrities like Nicki have some protection, as their spouses hold legal authority over finances. But if that protection is removed, even the wealthiest and most influential figures could face the same type of control Wendy endured. Nicki's claims also suggest a deliberate use of media, associates, and even legal teams to pressure or manipulate public perception. In Wendy's case, false diagnoses, restricted access to family, and career sabotage worked together to paint her as incapable, when in reality, she was fully capable and resilient. This is not just about one celebrity, it's a blueprint that could be applied repeatedly in the industry. And it doesn't stop there. The pattern extends to other high-profile cases. Britney Spears, Kanye West, and even Michael Jackson experienced forms of control over their lives and assets. Wendy's story is a stark reminder of how fame, money, and power can make someone vulnerable to manipulation, and how quickly the system can move when someone refuses to stay silent. Wendy Williams' experience isn't just a personal battle, it's a window into a systemic problem in the entertainment industry. Her misdiagnosis, guardianship, and the alleged manipulation by powerful figures reveal how fame and fortune can make someone a target. Courts, medical professionals, and financial institutions can be leveraged to strip celebrities of autonomy, often under the guise of protection. The patterns are striking. Guardianships and conservatorships have affected Britney Spears, Kanye West, and even Michael Jackson, each with their own twists but similar underlying mechanisms: control of assets, limitation of personal freedom, and suppression of dissent. Wendy's case shows just how quickly this system can act when the right combination of influence, media manipulation, and legal authority comes together. It also highlights the importance of family, public scrutiny, and independent verification. In Wendy's case, her son's courage in speaking out and independent neurological evaluations eventually forced the truth into the light. It raises an unsettling question. How many other celebrities, or ordinary people, have been silenced or misrepresented by systems designed to protect them? The story also intersects with ongoing industry drama. Nicki Minaj has publicly warned that she could be next, with powerful entities allegedly plotting to use similar tactics. Even though her marriage provides a legal buffer, the situation underscores how fragile personal freedom can be when money and influence are at stake. Wendy's struggle isn't just shocking, it's a wake-up call about systemic manipulation, the abuse of authority, and the stakes involved in being a public figure. After years of being silenced, controlled, and misrepresented, Wendy Williams may finally be on the path to freedom. Independent tests prove she was misdiagnosed, legal teams are filing to end her guardianship, and the truth about what she endured is coming to light. For someone who once commanded millions of viewers with her bold personality, this is more than a victory. It's a reclaiming of her life. But Wendy's story also raises bigger questions. How many other celebrities, or even everyday people, could be trapped under similar systems? How often are diagnoses, court orders, and legal maneuvers used not to protect, but to control? And with Nicki Minaj warning that she could face a similar fate, it's clear that the pattern isn't limited to one case. It's an ongoing, systemic issue in the entertainment world. Now, the question is, what happens next? Will Wendy finally be free to live her life on her own terms? Can the industry be held accountable for these tactics? And how can fans, families, and the public make sure powerful institutions don't silence the voices that need to be heard? We want to hear your thoughts. Do you believe Wendy Williams is finally out of her guardianship for good? And do you think Nicki Minaj could really be next? Drop your opinions in the comments below. And don't forget to click here to watch another video diving into even more shocking celebrity stories. The fight for truth and freedom isn't over, and you don't want to miss what happens next.